What's going on, Pokemon fans? I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries.
And I am Andrew from Collector Andrew.
I'm still not used to you not saying 8-bit Bboc anymore.
Yeah, so as you've noticed, we are exactly on time. It is one day after Sun and Moon base set has been revealed. And we're ready to jump into this. I'm pretty sure we are the first people to indeed go over these cards.
Oh man, we couldn't possibly be further behind. Like, we usually stay pretty on top of these things, but...
How many weeks late are we?
I think we're like almost a month late. We're like 3 weeks late.
Yeah, we're 3... Actually, it's 3 weeks exactly, because last Wednesday is when the cards came out.
Yeah, and we're recording this on January 4th, so I don't know about you, Andrew, but I'm thinking about putting it up on Sunday, but that's just me.
I think Saturday or Sunday could work well.
Okay. All right.
Either or. You guys have the idea. You'll know. You guys will actually know at that point in time.
That's the main thing. So, yeah, we're a little bit late, but this time we're actually here before the release of the set in English. That's the important thing. So we're going to take a look at Collection Sun and Collection Moon, aka Sun and Moon base in English, and just kind of show you guys what to expect and what cards are going to be good and what cards are not going to be good, and the artwork and all that fun stuff. So... let's go ahead and kick things off here. I guess I'll start it off with the Butterfree line. Of course, we got Caterpie. Caterpie's kind of cute. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pokebeach, by the way, for throwing the snow effects on the website layout. Appreciate that.
Makes it very festive.
We also have our Metapod here as well. It's funny how these cards look like they have texturing to them when they don't.
Yeah, I think it's just how these scans actually are. It's very weird. It definitely turns out odd. I really like that Metapod, by the way. I know this isn't going to be a whole, review of admiring the artwork, but come on, they put like a clay Metapod on a real tree. That's neat.
That is pretty neat. And then next up we've got Butterfree. I'm not really mentioning the attacks because they're not going to be anything important competitively. Because of that reason, I guess I'll just go ahead and zoom through the next ones as well. We got Paris here. Paris is just a Paris. And then Parasect. Parasect, I guess, is kind of cool.
Mostly for Fury Cutter. We've seen attacks like this before. You flip 3 coins, and it just does more and more damage for each coin flip you got. So if you did manage to get 3 heads, you would be doing 130 damage for a double colorless. So
140 actually.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's I read it wrong. Well, no. Why does it say
20?
Yeah, I think that's
20.
Yeah, I think that's just a typo, so,
No, actually, I don't... Is it? Wait a minute. 10 plus... Yeah, it is. It's 10 plus... Yeah, I think that was just put in incorrectly. So it's 10 damage plus 60 if 2 of them are heads, and 10 damage plus 120. So, yeah, it's just a typo there. But... yeah,
but still, I mean, 130 for a double colorless would be great, just it's not consistent. So you're not going to see this being played, but it's neat.
Yep, I agree with that. So I'll let you go ahead and take over here with the next line.
Okay, so we've got Bounce Sweet. Now, it's really interesting, and you'll see this momentarily. So we've got Sweet Scent and Bounce on it. But then for the same exact requirements and whatever, you get for Steenie, you've got Sweet Scent, and it doesn't even increase the amount of damage that you heal. So it's literally just the same exact attack. So that's kind of but you know, it doesn't matter. But what we have next is Sarina. Sarina is very good, in my opinion, for discarding your opponent's hands. So with its ability, Queenly Majesty, once during your turn before your attack, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may look at your opponent's hand and discard 1 card. So that doesn't limit you from, if you have 4 of them, you can do that 4 times. Of course, that's going to be very hard to happen, especially since we still have XY sets in the format, but eventually this will be very, very decent. Essentially, all you have to do is, and like I said, currently with Forest of Giant Plants, you set that up, you evolve into these guys really quickly, or girls rather, you can only be female, and you evolve, discard the cards, and then you'll Devolution Spray them so you can get them right back and do it all over again.
Not to mention, you could combine it too with even more power. You could actually do it with Delinquent as well. Discard that Forest of Giant Plants that you just had up, and make your opponent discard another 3 cards from their own hand too.
Yeah, so I mean, there are tons of things that you can do to really disrupt their hand.
Yep.
So this is kind of in a way a reverse mill. So
it is, and also it has a great partner that can go with it as well. You guys will see later on in this review. So look forward to that.
Do you want me to continue from here?
Go ahead.
All right, so we've got just a few of these guys. We've got a Growlithe and an Arcanine. The Arcanine Holo is beautiful. It is just not good. It is nice that on most of the fire Pokemon that I've seen throughout these sets, or through the set rather, that they all have one attack that does burn. They are in fact, and they did change the ruling on burning. I think we've mentioned that before, but if not, it's basically more akin to something like poison. It does 20 damage in between turns?
Yes, it does, and you can only get out of it. I think you become unburned if you flip heads.
Yes, that's the case. But before, the situation was 1 damage counter between turns, I think. And how would you get rid of burn? I forget.
You
exactly
have to switch.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a lot better now. And obviously, you can see most of these fire Pokemon have something for the burn condition.
And by the way, can I just say, it's about time they gave a holo to Arcanine. It has been so long.
Yeah, and it's a gorgeous one too, so they didn't jib him at all.
Nope, not a bit.
One thing that I'm also very pleasantly surprised to see is no Ken Sugimori artwork just thrown onto a background.
Ah, yeah, that's true too.
Yeah,
that's nice to see.
So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Ken, we love you. You're a very good, person. Make all the official artwork, but we don't want to see your standard design slapped onto a background.
Yes, that's also true.
So next up we have Torcal. I think that might have been my mess up, but I'm not quite sure. So I might have to go back in and fix that later, even though it's been like 3 weeks. But
yeah, if you guys didn't know, Andrew here is one of the official translators for Pokebeach, so you can blame him for this one, potentially.
Yes, and I am starting to put stuff on the page, but hey, I think I helped make it look pretty nice.
Yes.
So you're welcome, everyone.
Yes.
Do you want to go from here, cover some of the water?
I'll go to the water types here. So our first one is going to be Psyduck. Nothing really special about it, except for, I guess, you can confuse both Pokemon if you really wanted to. Other than that, we've got Golduck up next here. Again, not really anything fantastic, but if you can do 60 damage, and if you discard up to 2 water energy from hand, it does 60 damage times the number of cards discarded. Ugh, can't even talk. So you can do 120 for 1, which I guess is good, but
yeah, and I guess you could combine it with Golduck Break.
You could.
There's nothing saying you can't, but yeah. I just don't picture it happening.
I don't either. Next up here, we got a Shelter. Nothing special, just a tackle attack. Then we got Cloyster, which I think looks really cool as a card in general.
Yeah, it's pretty dynamic. I don't even know what's going on, but I like it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really do much with Cloyster, but they did pretty darn good with this one, in my opinion. So that looks good. Again, not anything playable, but first and foremost, our GX here, our very first GX to take a look at is going to be Lapras-GX, and it's got 3 attacks. Only 2 of them you can use anytime you want. One of them only once per game. If you guys are unfamiliar with the GX, the way the GX mechanic works, we'll talk about that here in just a second. But the first one is collect, draw 3 cards for a water energy. Blizzard Burn for 3 water does 160 damage, but this Pokemon can attack during your next turn. Very reminiscent of Kyurem from the Plasma era. And we also have our GX attack here, which you can only use 1 GX attack per game. This one is Ice Beam GX for 2 water and a colorless, does 100 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. By far not the best GX attack in the game, but the GX attacks are designed to be a little bit more game influencing than standard attacks, and they're typically at a lower energy cost and deal more damage, or in this case, damage and special conditions. So it's kind of a neat mechanic, but you still lose 2 prizes if your opponent knocks it out.
Now, one thing that I want to put in, like, of course that they've raised, like, HP is, like, of course we're seeing a lot more 180, but for basic GXs, we are seeing more 190s than, anything really. But that is probably by far the worst GX attack, in my opinion, just because, yes, it is designed to be more, like, better attacks for lower cost requirements and, you know, give you big benefits, and that's why you can only use them once per game. But like when we just talked about Golduck, if you discard 2 water energy, that's so easy to get, and for 1 energy you can do 120. Granted, you're not paralyzing anyone, but still, the only other attack you can use is Blizzard Burn to do damage, and then you can't attack after that.
Yeah.
So, like, Lapras-GX is by far the worst GX. It is brilliantly designed, you know, got that fiery sky in the background, but it is a god-awful card.
It really is.
I can't believe, if they had done maybe a 1 energy requirement, sure, but 3, nope.
No,
not gonna happen.
Not at all. All right, you know what? Let me just do this last one here, and I'll hand it back to you, just because it's got some competitive qualities to it that I just happen to pick up on. Wishy-Washy here is kind of a cool Pokemon. Whether or not it's going to actually work in anything is a little bit in question, but it does have some uses due to its ability. It's only got 30 HP, so if you start with it, I'm so sorry. But if you don't, then Cowardice is actually a pretty good ability for getting rid of things if you want to get rid of them, like energy, or even like in an instance, there's a Pokemon you could get rid of as well. I could see this potentially having some use in Vespiquen, because Cowardice, it says you can use this ability once during your turn, excluding your first turn or the turn this Pokemon comes into play, which is why I say RIP if you happen to start with it, because you can't do anything with it on the very first turn. So what you do is you discard all cards attached to this Pokemon and return this Pokemon to your hand. Now, the fact that you can't use it on your first turn or the first turn it comes into play kind of hurts a lot, which is why I'm not sure if we will ever see any kind of competitive use to it. But if you manage to find a use for it, you could like discard energy with it. You could attach some energy to it and throw it on the discard pile and use it to accelerate later with like a Mega Turbo, or, you know, there's also different Pokemon as well and expanded that you can discard, or you can get energy out of the discard, like Mega Manectric, for instance. You can also use in Vespiquen, if you really wanted to, the same way that you use Unknown. You can put down a Klefki with Wonderlock, and then using its ability, you can attach it to a Pokemon as a tool card. So you can attach a Klefki to this Wishy-Washy, and then use Cowardice. It'll discard that, put the Wishy-Washy back in your hand, and you can Ultra Ball it away. People are already using Unknown for that same thing, except for they attach it to the Unknown, and they use the Unknown's ability, Farewell Letter, and throw it in the discard. So it's a little less useful version of that, in my opinion. But, you know, maybe it might have some kind of use later down the line. It's not the first time we've seen this ability, so who knows?
Yeah, and we'll also have to see what happens with future sets, because sometimes they do design cards with other sets in the future in mind.
Yes.
And I think it's definitely possible that we could maybe get a Wishy-Washy GX of the school form.
Yep.
And then perhaps like it will have an attack that it does, like, you know, maybe its GX attack is it does 50 or 60 times damage times the number of Wishy-Washy in the discard pile. You know,
yeah, or in your hand, even.
Yeah. So anything, yeah, that would actually be much better. So something like that is definitely a possibility in the future. So we'll just have to actually see. But you know, there are a couple, as Professor K was talking about, there are a couple scenarios where it could be good. But I think waiting to see what comes in the future might be the best option, just because I think it might have some sort of tie-in with like a Wishy-Washy GX.
I agree, because if you look at it, look at how Donphan from Plasma Storm didn't have any usefulness until Furious Fist came out. So it definitely has the potential to be good later on. They could be planning something. Who knows?
Yeah. So moving onwards, did you want me to get these next guys?
Go for it. Yeah, I've done enough.
So we've got Dewpider here. You know, this is probably one of the neatest Gen 7 mons. Definitely like it a lot. But then it evolves into, and this is up for debate, it could either be Araquanid or Araquanid, depending how which part of the you know, the play on words you want to pronounce. But it has 100 HP, so it's a little bit on the lower side, but it has the ability Blister, which prevents all damage from attacks done to this Pokemon by your opponent's fire Pokemon. So that's kind of neat, giving you a little bit of an immunity. But then Aqua Edge, 70 damage for a Water and 2 colorless. It's not very good, but definitely have to talk about any ability that a Pokemon will have. So,
I agree.
definitely interesting. This one, however, is a lot better. Is Pyukumuku. It only has 60 HP, but it, and I actually think that works out perfectly, is with its ability innards out. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is knocked out by an opponent's attack, you place 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So it's a Pokemon with a bursting balloon, essentially, already for its ability, but that could definitely be very cool to attach something like bursting balloon to it. Or,
120 damage just for getting knocked out.
Yep, and the thing is, Pyukumuku is a devastating Pokemon in competitive play. To be quite honest, I've used him a few times, like in a free-for-all with Callum, and essentially, it's super bulky, but if you can manage to find something that does a crap ton of damage and you knock him out, that Pokemon's basically knocked out as well. Like, Pyukumuku's very, very good, and I imagine the TCG counterpart being very good as well, along with Bursting Balloon and some other items.
Yeah, it would definitely be very satisfying to pull off the Bursting Balloon Pyukumuku combo. That is for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you want me to get the next few, guys?
Go for it. No, you go for it.
All right, cool. So we've got Zubat. He's got Astonish. Very standard stuff. Next up, we've got a Golbat, and then we've got a Crobat. Crobat, the only thing worth talking about really is it's triple poison. For 1 Psychic, it poisons your opponent's Pokemon and then puts 3 damage counters instead of 1 in between turns. Really, it's not going to be useful anymore since Burbank City Gym is out of rotation. This is pretty much like how Krogunk was, but there are so many better options, to be quite honest. Like, wasn't there a poison Pokemon recently, like in one of the last few sets that like did very, very, like, I want to say it was like a Dragalge or something like that.
Dragalge prevents poison Pokemon from retreating.
Wasn't there a new one recently, or am I thinking of some other? I don't know. There was some Pokemon that had something to do with retreat, either in Steam Siege or Evolutions. That was, or not retreat, with poison, and it was really good. I'd have to look back on one of our reviews. If you guys can remember what we're talking about, please let me know, because that's actually bugging me now. Probably should have thought about that before we did this, but no matter.
You can
doesn't matter. So next up is Espeon-GX. Very, very happy, and was initially surprised to see this, but it made sense because we got the Umbreon in the commercials. Yeah, Espeon-GX with a solid 200 HP, and it comes from Eevee, which we'll be talking about that a little bit later, and it's very good synergy to be able to get this guy out fast. But for 1 Psychic, we've got Psybeam, 30 damage, and then the defending Pokemon is confused. We've got Psychic for a Psychic and 2 colorless, 60 plus damage, and it does 30 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So that is a bit more costly, but for doing 30 damage plus the already like 60 on it, that's actually not bad. I mean, you can combine this with what is it, Dimension Valley. Did Dimension Valley get reprinted recently or no?
It did not.
Okay, so Dimension Valley is out of rotation, but in expanded, you could definitely pull something off pretty nicely with this. Make it only 2 energy requirements, and actually Lunala-GX will have some good synergy with this. So, there's a lot of different things that you can actually do to make that pretty decent. And then its GX attack is Division GX for Psychic and 2 colorless. You place 10 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. So that's just a free 100 damage anywhere you want. So that's definitely not bad. See, that's a decent GX attack. I think maybe they could have bumped it up a little bit more because, again, GX attacks can only be used once per game. It's supposed to be the TCG equivalent to the Z moves, but I think they could have made it a little bit more powerful, but still 100 damage anywhere is pretty decent.
Yeah, I do have to say, I feel like that's a good... Splitting it up is very good, but still 100 damage for a Psychic and a double colorless overall is not that great. But splitting it up, I guess, could make a bit of a difference if you've got some hurt Pokemon on the bench or low HP Pokemon that you really want to take out. It'd be nice if it was at least 11 damage counters to take out a Shaman if you really wanted to, but...
yeah, well, I would honestly say 120 would have been...
Yeah, 12 is perfect.
Yeah. So, but oh well, that's not the case, unfortunately. But it's still pretty decent, and maybe there will be some cards in the future that will help pull it off.
Yep, hopefully. All right, so next up here we've got Marini. Marini's 60 HP Pokemon. Nothing too special about it other than Poison Sting, Automatic Poison. And then we have Toxapex here, which has an ability that I think is really cool. It's much more reminiscent of the actual VGC move, Toxic Spikes. As long as this Pokemon is in play, whenever your opponent's active Pokemon retreats, the new active Pokemon is now poisoned, which is exactly how that move works. So it's cool to see the TCG and the video game kind of linking up there with that. I do like when that happens, so that's pretty neat. And then Venoshock... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that can be definitely very devastating, combining it with some other stuff. I mean, essentially, you could pair that with some other guys. Like, I mean, even his Venoshock attack does more damage for poison. And there are other cards that do that, so...
Yep, Venoshock for a Psychic and a double colorless does 50 damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, this attack does 50 more damage. So it could be up to 100, and then you're taking 10 damage in between turns, so 110. Pretty good. I like it.
Yeah. So we'll just have to see if anything else better comes along with it, because I honestly wouldn't. I mean, granted, we were just talking about Espeon, being 100 damage isn't like the best to put off, but the reason why Espeon is good is because you can place it anywhere. So I would like to see a better partner for this in the future to make Toxic Spikes a lot better.
Yep. Next up, we've got Cosmog. He's not in the bag. He should be, but he's not. And then we've got Cosmoem here. Teleport, switch your...
Professor K.
What's that?
Why have you done this?
I have to. It's my job. It's my job to be as corny as possible. We have Cosmoem here. Teleport, switches Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. Those two really nothing too special. Of course, they're just going to lead up to the GX Pokemon that they are associated with. But that's about it.
Real quick, I want to just mention some neat facts about this, because some person actually did like scientific stuff to this. So it's 0.1 meter tall, so it's a very small Pokemon, but it weighs 999.9 kilograms. So basically, because of how small it is and how much it weighs, this Pokemon shouldn't actually be able to exist in any world. Because of how small and dense it is, it would be denser and more devastating than a black hole.
Isn't it wouldn't that be like the equivalent of a dwarf star, because it's so small but yet it's so massive in weight?
I think I don't remember exactly what the post said, but I think it may have said something about that. But the whole idea is that obviously something as dense as a black hole would obviously suck everything up. Not even light can escape it. So this Pokemon shouldn't be able to physically exist, but that doesn't matter. No. I just thought that was real fun.
Yeah, it just like Wailord, even though it's as big as it is, doesn't weigh as much as it should either. So that's another thing. Pokemon doesn't care about it, what weights and heights look like.
Right.
I'll do the next two, and then I'll let you do Passimian. But we're going to start off here with Makihita for the fighting types. Again, nothing worth mentioning really, except for Makihita's there. And then we have Hariyama as well.
Yeah.
So there's those two.
All right, so next up we have Zaboomafoo. For
yes.
For one fighting, we've got Fling. It does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Yeah. I wish they would have done something like, I don't know, maybe made specific items that could have been like, do more damage depending on what you fling, because that's how the attack works, but no matter. Then we've got Team Play for 2 colorless. It does 10 plus damage, and then it does 30 times the number of Passimian on your bench. So at best, this is doing 100 damage for 2 colorless. Again, not really that great. But I mean, I guess you could combine it with Fighting Energy or Strong Energy and make it do a little bit more. I guess that would make it 140, but I still don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah, and 160 for 2 of them, so yeah, again, it's not hitting any magic numbers. I don't think it's worth it, but that's just me.
Wait, I thought Strong Energy just did 20 more.
Yeah, but if you touch 2 of them.
Yeah, but that would make it 40 and then the 100. So 140. Wait, what did I say?
It'd be
did
90,
I say 120?
it'd be 90 and then... I'm sorry, it'd be 90, it'd be 100, it could go up to 140.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so anyways, just a little confusion. So,
yeah, I did. I actually heard you. Yeah, I'm the one I think who was wrong on that one. My bad.
Yeah, no matter. Do you just want me to continue the next couple?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Alolan Meowth, a little bit tiny, but no matter. Something, and see, this is definitely very reminiscent, and I felt that way from the very beginning. The Sun and Moon, because I was talking with Fredo actually, and he was talking about like how they kind of are recycling a bunch of different ideas, like breaks are kind of like a recycled version of level X's and things like that. And now they're going back to Diamond and Pearl era stuff. We've got, and then they did the dual type EXs for Steam Siege. But yeah, so now we've got no cost requiring attacks, or what's a shorter way to say that?
No cost attacks.
Yep. So, So we've got some NCAs right here. Fury swipes 10 times damage, flip 3, and it does 10 times the number of heads. So it's not good, but it's just nice to note that they actually have that. And of course, they put it on only Alola Pokemon for the time being, or Alolan rather. So then we've got Persian. It's got Taunt. You switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with the active. So it's nice that you're able to control that. 90 HP. I don't know if you'll ever actually use that, but it's an option if you intend on doing something like that. Then I don't think Rend is worth talking about. So we can just move on. I just want to say one thing about Alolan Persian is that, yes, I get that its face looks like it's been stung by a bunch of bees. It's really cute. And if you think otherwise, you're wrong. So I just wanted to mention that.
I won't say anything to that then, because I don't like it.
Wow. I see how it is.
All right, cover this last line here too then.
Okay. So for my viewers, real quick, I just want to say sorry. For some reason, I felt like I wasn't recording, so I checked OBS real quick, and I was. So thankfully. Anyways, we've got Sandile. Nothing. Krokorok, nothing. And then we've got Crocodile. Crocodile's actually interesting. Accusation, 20 plus damage. It does 20 plus 20 damage times the number of cards in your opponent's hand. So if your opponent, if you can either... Is there any way to actually get them to have more cards in their hands? I don't think so. But
you could end them into a larger hand size.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I mean, other than that, if your opponent just has a large hand, that's pretty neat. I mean, what if they had 8 cards in their hand? Let's just say that, like, say it's they maybe did a Lily and got 6 cards. Or does that draw until 6, or do you draw 6?
You draw until you have 6, and then first turn you draw until you have 8.
Yeah. So, well, let's just assume that they have 8 cards in their hand. That's 160, and then plus the initial 20, so that's 180. But that's not going to happen too much. Hey, I was actually thinking about this. I didn't take a look at the cards, and I wanted to see if any were made by Hajime Kusujima. It's my favorite artist, and this Krokorok is.
Oh, there you go.
So that's neat. It's definitely not one of my favorite artworks, but I'm happy that Hajime Kusujima is still getting work.
That is good. That is good.
Okay, so you want to cover the next few guys?
Yep. We'll start off here with Alolan Diglett for the metal types. We've got a free attack here is Probe. Look at the top 3 cards from your deck, return the deck to the top of your deck in any order, which is pretty nice because it's a lot like Premonition on Gallade, which was very good from Breakthrough. So I guess it has some use there. You could do it for free, so that's kind of neat, but it'd be nice, except for I think Alolan Dugtrio should be a little bit better for that.
I think it's also just kind of funny that it has Mud Slap, but it costs a metal energy to do it.
Yeah, that is a little weird, isn't it?
Like, they should have done that colorless, to be quite honest.
I agree.
One thing I just want to say, with how Alolan, or with how Diglett looks anyways, they probably shouldn't have made an attack called Probe. But that's just me.
That's true. Oh, man. All right, next up here, we've got Alolan Dugtrio. Ability is Tangled Hair. As long as this Pokemon is in play, the defending Pokemon's retreat cost is a colorless more. I wish it was 3 colors more. That'd be fantastic. It's colorless, 1 colorless energy more. Dig Under for 3 colorless. This attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack's damage is unaffected by weakness or resistance. Very horrible. That's an awful attack.
Yeah, I mean, Tangled Hair has some uses, but you're not going to use this thing to attack.
No,
at
you're
all.
not. It's just going to sit there and look glorious with its fantastic looking hair.
Oh yeah, it's pretty great. I just want to say, like, I was honestly baffled when they showed that, like, when they said, oh, like in the demo, when people first saw it, the lady's like, oh, there are some Pokemon that look different, and then you do the whole camera thing and you see it. I thought they honestly did that as a joke to be like, oh, ha, look at this Alolan form, and it, you know, maybe it was just like someone put a wig on it, but no, it literally was an Alolan form, and I'm still shocked to this day. Not that I don't love it, but I'm still shocked.
Yeah, I don't understand, but that's okay. All right, next up here we got Skarmory. Nothing too special to really say about that one, unfortunately. Skarmory always seems to get the shaft competitively. And we have Solgaleo-GX. Now,
very, very good.
This is a very, very good Pokemon. Ability is Ultra Road. Once during your turn before you attack, you may switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon, so you are able to just move your Pokemon around, giving them essentially free retreat every single turn. And then it's got an attack, Sun Steel Strike for 2 metal and a colorless, does 230 damage, but you have to discard all energy. And then its GX attack is amazing. For a single Metal Energy Burst GX, search your deck for up to 5 energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. That is an amazing GX attack. That is what a GX attack should be.
Yeah, that's what a GX attack should be. Because that is overpowered, but you can only use it once. That's the whole point. You're not supposed to do something where it's like, oh, that's kind of good. You have to have something that's, wow, that's pretty crazy. That's what a GX attack needs to be. So I hope they do that in the future. I know not every card is supposed to be good, but you have to have, if you're going to have a thing where it's like you can only use this once, you should make it good. Even if the other 2 attacks suck or the ability in the attack sucks, you have to have something that is like, wow, that's nuts.
Yeah.
And that is that. Like, even 2 metal would have been crazy, but 1 metal for the Soul Burst GX to do 5 energy cards, not basic, energy. So you could legit pull out 4 double colorless and a rainbow energy and then attach them to any of your Pokemon.
Yes.
Like, that's nuts.
It is. And the only downside to this entire thing is that, yes, it is a stage 2, so it's going to take you a couple turns to set it up. And if you're running a deck that, you know, you're playing a lot of energy acceleration anyway, maybe it's not as useful to you. But in decks that are slow to get going, this is really good. And it's got 250 HP. That's a Wailord.
Yeah, and you know what's actually really good about that too, as well, is that the metal Pokemon decks are always very slow because they usually have high cost attacks anyways. So that's one thing that makes it very, very good. And like I said, there are still special energies in format. So if you really wanted to, you could make him very, very bulky and, you know, attach a couple, what do you call them, of the shield energy, I think it is, to make it take 10 less damage. So that's essentially, if you put all 3 on there, like, granted you'd have to discard them, but if you put 3 on there, you're making him a 280 HP Pokemon essentially. That's pretty good. And like I said, I'm just, you know, yes, it might take a few turns, but we have Rare Candy. Like, Rare Candy's been already confirmed to be reprinted. So, I mean, to be able to go from Cosmog to him, that will only take 1 Rare Candy, put it into the 250 HP Pokemon already, and you have, like, even 230 for 3 energy is pretty decent. Like, yes, you have to discard them, but 230 is going to knock out a lot of stuff that isn't GX.
Yes.
And then
and if you think about it, I mean, Snorlax-GX is being used already competitively. It showed up at Dallas Regionals, and it does 210 with its GX attack.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is going to be a very good card.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, I'll cover the fairy ones just to wrap them up. Cutie Fly here is, of course, our only basic fairy Pokemon here in this particular collection. Not worth mentioning, really. And then we have Ribombee here as well. Healing Pollen, you can use this ability once during a turn. Heal 20 damage from one of your Pokemon. So, a way to freely heal 20 damage from your Pokemon. But again, I don't think it's worth making a space in your deck for, at least not now.
Yeah. I don't think I showed that card real quick, so I'll just do that. So, you want me to get the next one?
Yep.
Okay, so we've got Kangaskhan, which initially I forgot that it was a holo. So we've got Crosscut, nothing. Hurricane Punch, nothing.
No.
So yeah, Kangaskhan, bad card. But then we've got Eevee. Eevee is good. It's basically a reprint, but Energy Evolution, we know this from Furious Fist. You can use it once during your turn. When you attach a basic energy, you can search your deck for a card of that energy that evolves from this Pokemon. So the gist is you attach a psychic energy, you can immediately look for an Espeon, or an Espeon-GX rather. So you can evolve into Espeon-GX or Umbreon-GX right away, and I think we'll definitely be seeing other Evolution-GXs in the future. Well, actually, we're getting Sylveon-GX in this. It's kind of like a side set. It's Sun and Moon Plus, I think it's what they call it, the strengthening set. So I'm not sure if those are going to get full arts, but I hope they do. But yeah, we'll have to see how we see those in the future. I imagine they'll probably just get added into Sun and Moon 2 for us, but who knows. But yeah, it's definitely going to make it very good, and the Evolution-GX is much, much more playable. So I think I'll just finish up some of these last few guys. Okay, so we've got Spinda. It's a Spinda. We've got Lillipup and Herdier. I'll talk about its ability real quick. Treasure Hunt. You can use it once during your turn when you play this card from your hand to evolve a Pokemon. Choose one item card. Why did I stutter on that? Choose one item card from your discard pile, show it to your Pokemon, and put it in your opponent, and put it into your hand. I don't think you should show it to your Pokemon. It would do nothing. So, I mean, that could
Decent ability.
Yeah. And then we've got Stoutland, 150, and then you've got Ferocious Bellow.
That is a gigantic Stoutland, by the way.
Yeah, no, because they print these out on pieces of paper for the Pokemon. It was I think Pokemon has seen people covering TCG stuff, so they're oh, we got to get in on this. But the Japanese Pokemon channel doesn't know how to manage stuff correctly, so I mean it's not doing as well I think as they hoped. But yeah, they just print these cards out on giant pieces of paper. But yeah, so anyways, also one thing I want to say, it has an attack hard punch. I don't imagine a Stoutland punching anytime soon, so yeah, just throwing that out there. And then we've got Young Goose, and then we've got Gumshoos-GX, evolves from Donald Trump, has 210 HP, and this one's not too bad. So Inspect, once during your turn before your attack, you may have your opponent reveal his or her hand. That could have its uses, maybe. So we've got Flying Headbutt for 3 colorless, 100 damage, nothing special. But Gumchance-GX is a pretty decent attack. For 10 plus damage, it does 50 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So, I mean, even if they have 4 energy on them, that's 210 HP. That's pretty good. But it really just... It's very dependent on what kind of deck you're going up against. So this is a great counter, of course, for any kind of Mewtwo and Mega Mewtwo EX deck.
Or Yveltal.
Yeah, or Yveltal. But other than that, if they're not running high energy cost attacks, it's not going to be too useful. But it's still for 1 energy. So even if they only had 2 energy, which a lot of attacks will cost at least 2, that's 110 damage, which isn't horrible. It's just very dependent. So it can be good. It just has to find the right format to be in. And then wrapping up the last 2 Pokemon, we've got ourselves a Stuffle and a Beware. And yeah, nothing to say about them except I like them. They're good. Although I'm curious, what is that thing in the background on Beware? It looks kind of like a key or a sword.
It's a sign. It's a sign with a bear on it. It's a bear warning sign.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm actually seeing that now. So that's neat. I like that he just knocked it over.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna move on to the items here. Our first one is a Crushing Hammer reprint. Energy Denial does not want to go away. So if you flip a coin, if heads, discard an energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. We've got Timer Ball, which is a new item for us here, at least in the current format we're in. Flip 2 coins for each heads, search your deck for an evolution Pokemon, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck afterward. We've got Repel. Your opponent switches his or her active Pokemon with one of his or her bench Pokemon. Of course, they get to choose, so it's not an automatic, like, Lysander kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's still decent for a item card.
It is. For an item card, it's very good. Next up, we've got Rotom Pokedex. Count your remaining prize cards and then shuffle them into your deck. Draw the same amount of cards and place them face down as your new prize cards. So you could actually combine this with Town Map, know which cards that are there, and if it's worth it for you to play the Rotom Dex, I suppose you could. I don't really see it warranted as a space in a deck just yet. But if your prizes are important to you, then maybe.
Yeah, and even with Town Map, you're only going to run like one, maybe two of them in there. So like these cards they work in tandem, and you only play about one of them each.
Exactly.
So then, definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool mechanic. I like it. Next up, we got EXP Share, which is currently in the format. It's nothing new on that end. Attach a Pokemon tool card to one of your that doesn't have a tool card attached to it. Okay. When your active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you may move one basic energy that was attached to that Pokemon to the Pokemon this card is attached to. This is commonly used in things like Xerneas Break. Actually, I think that's pretty much the only one it's used at anymore because energy is very important to Xerneas Break.
And before that, it wasn't even used at all.
No, it really wasn't. It's only been for fairy decks, I've noticed. Xerneas-based fairy decks. Let's see here. I'll close out the last three before we go into the hyper rare cards. We've got Elima. There's just one picture of it that's got a bunch of other cards, but Elima is the one over here on the far right. And each player shuffles his or her hand into his or her deck. Each player flips a coin. If heads, that player draws 6 cards. If tails, that player draws 3 cards. So if you both flip heads, you both get 6 cards. You both flip tails, you both get 3 cards. One of you gets a heads, the other gets tails, you get 6, they get 3, whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of different chances with that one.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Elima, to be quite honest.
I'm not either. I feel it's too birchy, in my opinion, and I didn't like birch.
But even birch is better than that because it helps you out more, whereas this can completely screw you over.
Yeah, it can. And, you know, it's both players. So if they have a good hand, you could put them into a bad hand. But you could also put them into a good hand, too, which is also not the greatest. Especially if it's 6, because, I mean, it's like an N at that point at the beginning of a game. Much better if they draw 3, but you can't control it. So that's the thing. You're losing control options in the game, and that's not something you want to do in Pokemon. So next up here, we've got Professor Kukui as a trainer, or a supporter, and I actually really do like this card. It completely makes Giovanni's scheme irrelevant, because Giovanni was, you could either draw up to 5 or do 20 damage. Well, now you can do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon and draw 2 cards. Not even mattering how big your hand is, it's a 2-card draw and 20 more damage. It's Muscle Band on steroids for 1 turn, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and I was very surprised. I figured Professor Kukui would go along the other Professor routes, being, discard and then draw 7.
Yes.
I think they'll probably save that for, I'm going to say Samson Oak, maybe. Yeah. That's my guess. I'm
going to say either Samson Oak or like one of the Kahunas, maybe, you never know.
Yeah, they could do that for Hala. Maybe they do it for Kukui's wife. What's that, Burnett?
Yeah, could be that.
So we'll have to see. But this is actually not that bad. I'm so sad that Muscle Band is getting but I get that Muscle Band was kind of like OP. Like it was like literally in every deck you could have 3 or 4 of them in there because it was so good. But this is pretty decent to be able to do 20 more, and you get to draw 2 cards. Actually, someone did like a comparison to like 2 Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It's like basically a Pot of Greed, I believe it is, and another card just mixed into one. So definitely cool. So I think that we will see this played somewhat decently.
I think so too.
At least 2 of in a deck, I would imagine.
Yep. And then the final card here that I'll have you guys take a look at is Double Colors Energy Reprint. Before I will let you cover, well, basically just kind of describe the artwork here on these hyper rares.
Yeah, so, well, actually, no, the first ones we got up are the normal full arts.
Oh, yeah, these are the full arts. Whoops, my bad.
So, like, if you've noticed, full arts in the past had a gold border on them, but going along with the new, GX thing right there, they've outlined the Pokemon in blue, but since the regular GXs are basically full arts, they've kind of skimped out on doing something super crazy for the full arts. As you can see, even though this isn't the greatest of quality for photos, they're not doing anything really. They're just having a plain color background with the texture and then slapping the Pokemon right on it. Now, Lapras is probably one of my least favorite full arts too. Lapras just can't win. The hyper rare is good looking, but Lapras isn't winning very much because they just slapped it on a blue background, so it's like it just blends in a lot and it's very plain. I'm hoping that they do change that up a little bit in the future, maybe have a little bit of a design in the background, or at least having contrasting colors rather than slapping a blue Pokemon with a blue outline on top of a blue background. That's just bad design choice, and I don't know who approved that, but they need to be reevaluated, to be quite honest. But moving on, we've got Espeon-GX. Again, they did something very similar, but it's not as bad as Lapras. And the purple background is a lot darker, whereas Espeon's much lighter. I can't wait to see the hyper rare version of this in person. It's honestly my favorite hyper rare made. So decent design. Solgaleo, see, this is good contrast. The background is like kind of a silvery platinum grayish type thing, and you've got it, like, it stands out. It's a good full art, even though there's no background or anything like that, so it's very, very solid for sure. And then even Gumshoos, again, it has like a silvery background, and the brown and yellow makes him stand out much more, and he's kind of have that like totem Pokemon pose going on, so it's nice. And then we've got our Ilima full art, which is a very good, I said Ilima, but it's Ilima, I guess. Background is pretty on point on there. I love that the supporter full arts actually look much better than they used to. Pretty solid. And then we've got Kukui with a very like neat looking background. It's kind of like reminds me of like a quilt in a sense. So he's pretty nice. No Pokemon Excavation is going to want to get her hands on this card. Yep. This is going to be like her version of like Jessie's Karina collection. Pretty much. Yeah, so now we can move into the hyper rares. Did you want to?
Well, then I guess that's going to be on me after all. It's so hard to tell the difference between them, especially with these small pictures. But first up here we have Lapras, which, as I mentioned again, I still feel like this is one of the worst looking hyper rares as well. So worst GX, worst full art, and worst GX or hyper rare in my opinion. So I don't really like that one too much. I also agree with you on Espeon. I think Espeon is fantastic looking with the dotted background. Looks really nice. I need to talk about Espeon real quick. My God, I love this Pokemon so much. The thing that's so brilliant about it, each dot basically has its own color. It's not following a specific pattern. And what I think that they did is with the hyper rares, that the Pokemon themselves have their own rainbow background, and then the background has its own rainbow pattern. So they're never exactly the same. So they do have contrast with that. And especially it stands out amazingly on Espeon, because even with that they gave each dot its own individual thing, because you'll be seeing greens and oranges next to blues and whatever, so even that's not following a specific rainbow pattern. So overall this was just brilliantly designed, and I think this is at least the standard of what GX hyper rare should look like in the future. And these dots are kind of in a pattern of being like on a wave as well. Yeah, because you will see, like, on the left side, some of them are scrunched and whatever, and the top right here. So, very, very brilliantly designed card. I agree. I want to pull this card so badly, but if I had to only choose 2 cards to pull, I'm going to go for Lillian, the other thing that we'll be talking about later. Yes. Actually, very soon. All right, so here is the Solgaleo-GX hyper rare version. They kind of went the opposite route from the full art. As in the full art, Solgaleo had all this color to its face, the standard color, whatever, and they put that color on the outside instead of the inside this time. So it just makes it look a bit different and makes it just unique more than anything.
To me, it's very reminiscent of the full art Full Metal Dialga-EX.
Yeah, it is. It does remind me of that a lot. It gives it much more of a metallic look to it, which is perfect because that's its typing. So
yeah,
that works.
But I also
well.
think this might just be like how it looks. We'll have to see how this looks in person.
Yeah.
But definitely good design card.
All right, next up is Gumshoos-GX, hyper rare. They kind of just threw some random background in there. You know, really can't do a whole lot.
You know what it is though. All they did was take the hollow pattern from theme decks and slap it into a texture.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's true.
So,
I just realized that.
Yeah, so it's not the greatest, but it's still actually somewhat like Lapras's. I love the circular pattern, but it just doesn't work as well. So, but I think I personally like Lapras a bit more than Gumshoos.
Yeah, maybe. All right, next up here, the card that's making everyone pretty much lose their minds and start selling their Plasma Freeze Ultra Rares. We have full art secret rare items. The first one being Ultra Ball, which is going to be so highly sought after, it's not even funny.
This is going to be $100 minimum, I guarantee it.
Starting off the gate, 100. I'm sure we'll see it go up to 200, like the other Ultra Ball did before too long. It might even start out that high.
Can you imagine, like, the people that really want their decks to look pretty spending $800 to have 4 of these in their deck?
Yep, it's pretty wild.
That actually makes me want to vomit. If I don't pull one of these in any of the booster boxes I get, I think I might consider quit collecting or just, straight up committing suicide.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that's just horrible. It's so beautiful, but my God, this is going to be expensive as hell.
It really is. It's going to be absolutely just ridiculous.
They're not doing us any favors because once we go through these last two, I have one thing that I need to say. So.
Okay. Next up here we have our secret rare Rotom Pokedex. Pretty neat.
So if you want to use that one of in here, there you go.
You only need to pull one of them.
Yep. So, and
next,
then this is cool. This is really cool.
If you think about it, you're going to need a lot of these to run a deck fully blinged out. Now full rarity decks are going to be completely just bananas. Secret rare Metal Energy. Now, the one nice thing they do is they're only giving you one of these per set, at least in Japan. Obviously, we're going to get both of them in the Sun and Moon base, but I like that they're doing it nice and slow anyways, so that you're not completely contemplating death from the beginning.
I think they are going to be slowly rolling these out across the next. Like they already announced like the other Sun and Moon 2, which is basically going to be focused around Tapu Koko and Lycanroc Midnight form. Very interesting combination, to be honest. But I think from that we'll probably see like Lightning Energy and then Fighting Energy Secret Rare.
Yep, probably. And just like we're seeing, this is a Solgaleo and Lunala based. We've got Metal and, well, the other one obviously is going to be Psychic now that I said that, but I'm sure most of you already know that by now. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can use context clues. We don't think that lowly of you.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's that.
So, before we move on, I just want to do a little bit of counting for all of these full arts or better. So, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So, you can, again, use those context clues to think there's going to be 13 in the Moon collection that we have to go over. That is a total of 26 full arts or better. 6 secret rares in total.
This set's not going to be... It's going to be impossible to complete.
They better increase the pull ratios to a guaranteed 3 full arts or better per booster box. And they better also give you a decent chance to maybe get 4. I know that might sound crazy, but when you're putting 26 full arts or better in a set, that's just rude. 4 would even things out, and people are still gonna buy stuff Pokemon. You don't have to freak out like saying, oh, well, we need people to buy the cards. People will still buy the cards. Just 1 extra full art or better per booster box. That's all we're asking.
Yep. Exactly.
So it's absolutely crazy. But to be fair, with Primal Clash, that's when we saw the increase from like 2 full arts to 3, and that only had 18. So this has 8 more full arts or better in them. So I think there is a good possibility we could see 4 full arts or better, but we'll have to see.
All right, so go ahead and kick off Collection Moon here.
All right, so
almost 55 minutes later.
Oh my god! So yeah, we're gonna kind of like rush through these. So we've got Pinsir. He's a Pinsir. Sir Skit. He is that. We've got this Masquerain, which like in that weird leak where they confirmed like Solgaleo and Lunala were evolutions and whatever. they had this Pokemon in there, just randomly replaced like the Rowlet or something like that, and it's just weird that they did that.
It is. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, so we've got the Masquerain, we've got a Grubbin, we got a Faux Mantis, and then we've got Lurantis-GX. Okay, so we've got Flower Supply, 4 Grass Energy, 40 damage attached, 2 basic energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like. That's not that bad. Solar Blade, Lurantis' signature attack. 2 grass and then a colorless, 120 damage, and then you heal 30. And then Chlorosize-GX for 1 grass does 50 times damage, and it does 50 times the number of grass energy attached to this Pokemon. Again, that is a solid GX attack because there's no limits to, like, obviously this is kind of a counter for, or counter for each other for, Gumshoos in this one. You would attach a lot of energy to this and just do massive amounts of damage.
Yeah, if you've got the standard 3 attached to it to do the 1 attack, you're hitting for 150, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, 150 for 1 energy, for 3 energy is pretty good, but you only need the 1, is what I was trying to say. But, getting a lot of grass energy attached honestly wouldn't be that hard, to be honest, so not a bad one. So I'll just finish these last 2 grass, and then you can go from there.
Okay.
So we've got Morello and Shiinotic, which apparently will have some decent playability, perhaps with Sarina, or Sarina.
That's a combination I was speaking of earlier.
Luminescence. You can use this ability once during your turn, search your deck for a grass Pokemon, show it to your opponent, and put it into your hand, shuffle your deck afterwards. So definitely some acceleration for any grass deck that you want. Obviously, this could be more used for Lurantis if you want to use that a bit more.
Yep,
but
you can do that too.
But I think it would be a much, much better. Like, yes, having a bunch of stage 2 and then a stage 1 Pokemon might be a little bit slow, but honestly, with what you can do with it is a pretty decent combination.
Yep, and you're able to use that attack or that ability every turn to get a grass Pokemon, so even if you're setting something up that's a stage 2, makes it not quite so bad.
Yeah, so definitely not horrible. And it's pretty.
All right, so next up here we got Poliwag, which I like the design on it. It's got a Kirby's Epic Yarn kind of feel to it.
Yeah, I was actually going to say Yoshi's Woolly World.
Or Yoshi's Woolly World, one of the two. I only say Kirby because Kirby came before Yoshi in that sense. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. It makes it look really cute. Mm-hmm. And then we've got Poliwhirl here and Poliwrath. No playability here whatsoever, so they're just kind of there for the artwork, basically. Next up, we've got...
I was just saying, yeah.
Okay. Next up, we've got Corsola here. I like how they do the Corsola on the opposite set of Marini. It's perfect. I like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you guys know anything about, like, how to get Marini, so maybe this will help you out, but basically, the only way to get Marini is by SOS chaining on a Corsola, and then when you, like, see its Pokedex entry, it talks about, like, it, like, leaves Corsola bits behind after it's eaten it. Or maybe Toxapex says that one. But basically, they eat Corsola, is the idea.
It is.
So, it's
next
very
up here,
neat.
it is. I like that. Next up here, we got Wingull. Just a Wingull. Pelipper. Just a Pelipper.
That's going to be our catchphrase. Just a blank.
Just a blank. Courier, return one of your benched Pokemon and all cards attached to it to your hand. In a way, I guess you could pick up a Shaman and get it out of harm's way that way. That's one thing you could do, but
yeah, but I mean, that's a lot of work just to get the Shaman. Like
it is. It is quite a bit. And then we've got Crabominable here. Crabominable, I wish it was better, but it's not.
Yeah, Crabominable
is Pokemon.
Yeah, he's great, but it's just not not gonna work.
It's not. And then the final Pokemon here for water typing is Bruxish Vivid Charge. Search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards, reveal them, put them into your hand. Good as an ability, as attack, I don't think it's going to see anything that great. And Psychic Fang does 90 damage. It's not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon, so it does go through anything that would stop it, say like a Jolteon. If you were trying to attack a Jolteon after it's used Flash Ray, or is it Flash Ray? I forget the name now. Shoot,
I forget.
I've lost it. Whatever. I had a mental brain fart there for a second, but you can go through Jolteon's attack or something like that. But again, I just don't see it. 90 damage for 3 is not that great, and being able to search for 3 basic energy cards is great, but I don't see it as an attack.
Yeah, like maybe if it let you attach them,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
That'd be good too.
Be better.
Yeah.
So you want me to cover the next few guys, or do you want to get them? All right, so we got Chinchou, and actually this is kind of interesting. Searchlight, look at one of your face down prize cards and return that prize card face down. I mean, it's whatever. And then we've got Lantern, and Chargebug, and Vikavolt, which is very, very good.
I like Vikavolt.
Yeah, 150 HP, which is pretty solid for a stage 2. Strong charge. Once during your turn before you attack, you may search your deck for a grass and a lightning energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Shuffle your deck afterwards. So if you had, like, let's just be realistic and say 2 or 3 Vikavolt out on the field, you can essentially look for attach in Excel 4 to 6 energy.
4 to 6, and you're also attaching for turn as well.
Yeah, and then you can do it again your next turn if you really wanted to. But at that point, you're probably not going to run more than 12 energy, so they serve their purpose after 2. But you get them in the discard pile, shuffle them back in, you can reuse them from that point. So that's very solid. And then his attack is Electro Cannon for a lightning and 3 colorless, 150 damage, and you discard 3 attached. So you're not going to be using him to attack, but you will be using him probably with any Dragonite EX that there is. And I mean, there is a Dragonite this set, but I don't really see him being playable, but we'll talk about him later.
You could use this for Lugia EX as well.
Yeah.
Aeroball.
Yeah, but this is definitely a good one for, in my opinion, for either of the Dragonite EXs. They both have good playability, but the Furious's one is out of rotation, so scratch that just for the Evolutions one, which that's a good card too. So
it is, but that's all colorless attacks anyway.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I guess I'm just a jerk.
And it's mostly used for the ability, anyways. Not to rain on that one, but that's what it's used for.
Well, anyways, I'll just wrap up this one. Togedemaru is a Togedemaru.
It's cute. It's this gen's Pikachu. That's about it.
Yeah.
All right. So next up here, we've got a Alolan Grimer. It's got its 1 free attack there. Poison Breath. Flip a coin if heads. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. And Tackle for 40 is pretty steep cost there too. Usually you don't see that on a basic Pokemon like that. Wow, that's interesting. And then we also have Alolan Muk here. Power of Alchemy is its ability, which it's essentially a watered-down Garbodor. Kind of like... It's if you took Garbodor and Wobbuffet and combined the two, this is what you would get. Because Wobbuffet shuts down all of your opponent's abilities that aren't Psychic type, and this one shuts down all of your opponent's basic Pokemon abilities in play. So, or each player's, both of you. All of your basic Pokemon have no abilities. Garb is still the better option for now, but you might see Muk come in if Garbo is rotated out anytime soon.
Yeah, and it has a pretty solid 120 HP as well. So
yes, 20 more HP, and it also costs 1 more to retreat. Garb is only 3, and Muk is 4.
Yeah,
so.
It's decent, but I want to see a GX of this guy in the future. Maybe have him be a Dark-type GX. That'd be pretty dope.
And another plus for this is that it doesn't need a tool card attached to it to activate the ability, so that's also another cool thing. Alright, next up here, we've got Drowsy, Psycho Boom, 10 times the number of energy attached to the defending Pokemon. Kind of a cool attack name, but that's about it. We've got Hypno here. Hypno's not really got any attacks that are worth mentioning either. We've got...
Actually, I want to say one thing real quick. It looks like they kind of went a little bit lazy, because if you take a look at the pendulum thing, it kind of looks like the two side ones are like underneath a layer like of sand. In a way, so that might have actually been a mistake, but you'd have to see the card in person, I assume, to make that decision. But kind of looks like a little bit of an error on the artist's part there.
Kind of, yeah, that is true. I didn't notice that. Next up here, we've got Cosmog again, still not in the bag,
and then Cosmo.
And then we've got Cosmo again,
breaking the rules of or the laws of gravity and
physics and all that stuff.
Everything, breaking
Pretty
all
much.
laws.
And we've got Lunala-GX. Psychic transfer. As often as you like during your turn before you attack, you may move a psychic energy from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. Kind of a neat ability. Just not a lot of psychic Pokemon decks out there that are reliant on psychic energy. Most of them use double colorless. And Phantom Ray for 4 psychic energy. Super steep. 120 damage. Defending Pokemon can't be healed on your opponent's next turn. Not very useful. And Lunala-GX's Lunar Fall GX, knock out one of your opponent's basic Pokemon that isn't a Pokemon GX. Now, in the current format, fantastic, you can knock out an EX Pokemon. It could be a Mega, for all you care, for 3 Psychic Energy. Again, it's hard to get that powered up, but it's a really good GX attack for now. Later on, it's going to be complete and utter garbage. But for now, you may be able to find some kind of use for it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I want to give a few tidbits. First of all, for Phantom Ray, I forgot to go back and edit that. I did not put that originally, but I did notice the error and forgot to edit it. It should be Moongeist Beam. That's just what its name is in Japanese, is Phantom Ray. But Lunar Fall GX is overall Lunala. I'm so disappointed in this card. Very, very disappointed. 4 for 120, and then 3, and you get to just knock out a non-GX Pokemon. I could understand 3 and you get to knock out a GX, but I mean, I don't know. It's not good.
Yeah, and that's what you were saying before. GX attacks should be overpowered because you can use them once, and you should be able to knock out a GX.
Yeah, not ones that make you be like, well, in this scenario it could be decent. Like, no, it has to be in every scenario. It's like, wow, that could be pretty good.
Yes.
Or that is overpowered. Those are the only 2 scenarios there should be, is that's overpowered, or hey, that can be pretty good.
Exactly.
Hey.
I was waiting for it.
So I'll cover the fighting Pokemon.
Yep.
So we got a Roggenrola, a Poldor, and a Gigalith. Is there anything to talk about?
Nope.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, if you could get a lot of fighting energy attached to him, he could be useful, I guess. But, nah, not really. We got a Crab-Brawler. I love Crab-Brawler so much. And then we've got a Sandygast. I was really surprised they didn't make him Psychic type this for the first entry for it. But regardless, then we've got Palossand. And you know what would be dope is if they start doing shiny Pokemon again in the future. Like, I would love to see like a full art shiny Palossand with black sand. So dope. But we got Sand Armor. Any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 20. So if he was playable, that would be good. But he's not. He's not. Do you mind if I get these dark Pokemon?
Yeah, go ahead and get all the dark ones. I don't care.
All right, so we've got Alolan Rattata with Gnaw for free, 20 damage, so it is what it is. Alolan Raticate, the only thing that makes this good is Dark Design. You can search your deck for a number of cards up to the number of Pokemon on your bench and then add them to your hand. So if you did have, like, even just a small hand of 4, I mean, yes, you have to set him up and he could very well get knocked out next turn, but that is pretty solid to be able to search for 4 cards in your deck at all, and then just add them to your hand. That's very good in my opinion.
Yep, you just have to hope you don't get end out of them, that's all.
Yeah, so it can be a little risky, but I mean, hey, if you play a Lily, then you can draw up to 6, and then you can search for up to 6 cards, you know, if you had that one Lily to be.
Yes. And one more thing I want to throw out here so that you guys are all aware. The one thing that you must know about these Alolan Pokemon is that if they have a break form, you cannot go from Alolan Raticate into Raticate Break. They are not the same. You must use a regular Raticate, and you cannot evolve into Alolan Raticate from a regular Rattata. It's Alolan Rattata, Alolan Raticate, and then regular Rattata, regular Raticate Break. You cannot combine any of those in any way, shape, or form.
And the way they combated that is by giving them specifically Alolan in the title.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one thing, obviously in the future, since there is no Alolan Pikachu, Raichu, you can use any Pikachu with it.
Yes.
But when they do eventually make one. But I think, actually, there was a news thing today, which maybe I should have talked about in any kind of video, but I didn't. But I think the starter set things that we normally get are going to have a Lycanroc and a Raichu in it. So we'll have to see how that turns out. But anyways, moving on, we've got an Umbreon-GX, 200 HP, very, very good looking. Might I add. But you've got Strafe for a Dark Energy, 30 damage. You may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. You got Shadow Bullet for 2 colorless and a dark, 90 damage, and it does 30 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. I think that's kind of similar to Darkrai EX from, like, what, Dark Explorers?
Yeah. What am I thinking of here?
Night Spear?
Yes, Night Spear. That's the one.
Yep, and then we've got Nightcry-GX for a dark and a colorless. Discard 2 energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon in play. Again, a little bit underwhelming. Yes, it's any energy, so you could discard 2 special energy, but I just don't see that being worth a spot of, oh man, this is my ultimate attack. It's just not, you know. So it's unfortunate that Umbreon-GX couldn't be better, but well. I think we'll be seeing better cards in the future.
At the same time, Strafe is a lot like Donphan's attack, being able to attack and run away. And not only is Umbreon like Darkrai with that same attack style, it's also a much better energy requirement because Night Spear on Darkrai EX from Dark Explorers was 2 dark and a colorless, and this is a dark and a double colorless, so it makes it much easier and more splashable in a deck like an Yveltal deck, for instance. It makes it really good for it, being able to do 90 and 30 for essentially 2 energy attachments instead of 3.
Yeah, I suppose that is true. So, yeah, we'll just have to see how it works out in the future.
All right, why don't you wrap up these dark Pokemon?
Yeah, so we've got Carvanha and a Sharpeedo. Sharpeedo is a rough skin ability. If this Pokemon is active and damaged by an opponent's Pokemon attack, you place 3 damage counters on it. We all know rough skin. And then Aqua Impact is not worth talking about, so then we can move on. Yep.
So first off here, we've got Snubbull, and we also have Granbull. Nothing here that's worth mentioning, unfortunately. And next up here, we've got Dratini, which, again, we were talking about this earlier, how they changed the color scheme of these dragon-type cards. They're a lot lighter in color now, which I think is a great improvement.
Yeah, before they had, like, a mixture of, like, browns, blacks, and dark greens, and now it's a mixture of dark browns and yellows.
Yep.
With a subtle hint of green, so it looks much nicer, and definitely works well.
Yes, and it's also reminiscent of the other Eevee from the Plasma era, Signs of Evolution. You can search your deck for 1 each of Dratini, Dragonair, and Dragonite and put them into your hand. So that's kind of neat.
That's actually pretty neat. I didn't even take a look at that attack because I didn't think it would be worth looking at, but maybe I should have read it.
Yeah, I just glanced at it and was like, oh, Signs of Evolution. I recognize that attack name. And it's neat that you can grab all 3 of the line, too.
Yeah, so that's actually pretty cool.
Yep. And then we got Dragonair here. It's 1 attack. Its first attack is actually pretty unique in the sense you can, during your next turn, attach as many energy as you like from your hand to your Pokemon. So if you got a handful of energy, you could use this next turn and just start attaching energy everywhere.
Now I'm curious on the wording. Is it attach as many energy as you like to this Pokemon or any Pokemon?
The way it's worded currently, I'm going to say every Pokemon, and you can do it to any of them, period. Just the current way it's worded.
Who knows? Maybe screw Dragonite and just have like Dragonair for massive energy buildups.
Could have that, and it doesn't even say basic energy or anything like that. It's also just says energy. Maybe it's special energy too. I don't know. We'll have to see how it's translated.
I'm taking a look at the kanji and the katakana, and nothing implies that it would be basic, because even though I can't read it fully, I will recognize when it says basic, and I don't see anything that would imply that it's a basic energy.
Well, there you go. So it could just be any energy, which is pretty neat as long as you've got a way to get a lot of energy on the next turn. And then we have Dragonite here. Dragonite, 160 HP, pretty bulky for a Stage 2. Dragon Wave and Giant Tail. Giant Tail is a lot of damage. 5 energy for 200, but if you flip a coin, it's Tails. It does nothing. That's so ridiculous. I don't
like. I mean, come on. 5 is such a massive amount of energy to put on. Why would they even think that anyone would want to use this? I don't care how good it looks. This card is crap. Honestly,
it really is.
Like that makes me angry.
Yeah, same here. I'll cover the next few Pokemon and then we'll switch again.
Just wrap up the normal and then we'll.
Okay, that works. All right, so first off here we have a Spearow Peck at Bugs, 10 damage, and defending Pokemon has a Grass type. It does an additional 30, so 40 for 1. If you're facing a grass deck, kind of cool. I like the name Peck at Bugs. I think that's just funny.
Yeah, the TCG has great names. Like, what's that one card where it's like everyone explode now?
Yes, that's another one.
The TCG is great.
We've got Fearow here to evolve into. A Devastating Wind is actually pretty devastating. Shuffle your hand. Opponent shuffles his or her hand into her deck, and then he or she draws 3 cards. So that could really, really hurt badly. And then you could delinquent them on the next turn, and then they only have 1 from drawing. That'd be really, really gross.
Or mix it with Sarina and just completely screw them over.
Or do that, yeah.
There's so many things you can do to mess them up, and this is one of them.
That is. We got Tauros-GX here, has 3 attacks, and they're all double colorless, which I think is pretty neat. Rage does 20 damage and does 20 damage plus 10 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. It has 180 HP, so if it's heavily damaged, you're swinging for lots and lots of damage. Horn Attack does 60 damage flat out, and Mad Bull GX does 30 damage times the number of damage counters on this Pokemon. So you're just going to want to take this thing and tank some serious damage and wreck house. 30 damage times the number of damage counters. Oh my goodness. If you have 170 damage counters, what is that? 3, 4, 510? Am I counting that right?
I think it's something like that.
3, yeah, I think that is 510. Just doing quick math in my head, that's just ridiculous. You can put a Fighting Fury belt on this too and turn it into 220. That's another thing.
So
gross.
this could actually be very devastating under the right conditions. The only thing that's unfortunate about it is that once it's done, it's done. But to be fair, it is a GX attack, so it's not like you're going to be using it more than once. So it's why not? It's your final thing. You have so much damage on it, do an all-out attack and just completely wreck.
Yeah, and even if you don't, Rage is still good backup for damage if you're heavily damaged. So
yeah,
there's that.
Yeah.
This set also has Eevee's, the Energy Evolution Eevee, so that's just a complete reprint again in that set. And we got Pekka-Peck, we've got Trumbeak, and Toucan Sam. There you go.
Angry Toucan Sam.
Angry Toucan Sam, yeah.
Toucan Sam without milk.
You got Beat Cannon, which does 100 damage. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned, going along with its signature attack in the game as well. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And you're a colorless Pokemon that can burn, which I think is fantastic. And then,
absolutely.
Our final Pokemon for this set is Oranguru. The ability is Lead, which doesn't really seem to have any use right now, but maybe in the future. You can use this ability once during turn, draw cards from your deck until you have 3 cards into your hand. And Psychic, 3 colorless, 60 damage at a 60 plus 20 times the number of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's good for a basic, and being able to draw like that for a basic Pokemon is also good, because usually they're all evolutions. Even the Electrode from Plasma Freeze, I think it was, had to be evolved. Octillery has to be evolved. Shaman is the only one that's really kind of broken technically as a basic draw engine. So this is kind of a half as good Shaman.
Yeah, I think this would have been much, much better and actually very playable if it was 4 cards.
Like Electrode was.
Yeah, but unfortunately that's not the case. But in the future, when we lose some draw cards, perhaps this will be better.
Yep.
So, yeah, I will start into the trainers. We've got Energy Retrieval. You know what it does? You put 2 basic energy cards from discard into your hand. We've got a big Malasada. Looks actually kind of good. I would eat it.
Yep.
20 healed 20 damage and 1 special condition from your active Pokemon, so it's not going to be used too much. People don't do that, but
it's a watered down Pokemon Center lady.
Yeah, but the good thing is that it is an item card, so you can use multiple ones.
Yep.
We've got Nest Ball, which, okay, I didn't get to say anything, but Timer Ball I thought was definitely interesting. I just don't like that you have to flip for the Pokemon. Nest Ball, however, I think is definitely pretty good. You search your deck for a basic Pokemon and you put it under your bench. I think that can be very, very good.
Yes, and it's very good right now, too, because it allows you to get out EX Pokemon, but something that you must know about this card. Yes, you can get EX Pokemon with it, but you do not want to get a Hoopa or a Shaman with this because you're putting it straight to your bench instead of playing it from your hand, so you will not activate the ability. If you use a Nest Ball for a Shaman or a Hoopa, the abilities will not activate. You're wasting your time by doing that, so don't do it.
Yeah, but for any other scenario, this is actually very good. So moving onwards, we've got a Switch. The design looks pretty cool, and you'll see
that too.
Yeah, you'll see a kind of repeated thing in just a moment. We've got a Poison Barb, which is actually very interesting. It's a tool card. Is this actually the only tool card that we've seen, or was there another one earlier?
I think it's just this one.
Yeah, so we've got 1 tool card, and when the Pokemon this card is attached to is your active Pokemon and is damaged by an opponent's attack, the opponent's Pokemon is now poisoned. Definitely cool. Now, moving on to the last 3, our supporters. We've got Team Skull Grunt. Your opponent reveals his or her hand, and you can discard 2 energy cards you find there. Again, doesn't mention basics, so you can get rid of their special energy if you want. So that could be useful. I don't think you would see more than 1 or 2 of these in a deck, but probably more than likely just 1. But it's not bad. Not in my opinion, anyways.
No, I don't think it's too bad.
And then finally, we've got, well, for supporters anyways, we've got Lily, which is, oh man, we'll get to that in a moment. That's a whole nother rant. But you draw cards from your deck until you have 6 in your hand. If you use it on your first turn, you draw until you have 8. So this is just like a better Bianca,
yep,
if I'm not mistaken.
That's what I was going to say.
Yep. So, hey, pretty good, I guess.
I just don't know why she looks so angry, though.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, like, if you've actually played Sun and Moon, she's not really angry at anyone. Well, there
not
are
really.
some, yeah, towards the main character and her friends, she never has an angry look on her face. I don't even when she's like angry, she has more of a disappointed angry face, not like a straight up like I will kill you face. So this is just really odd that, you know, knowing how her character is, the artwork actually doesn't make as much sense to me, to be honest.
Like, the only thing I can see her being mad at is that Nebby's not in the bag.
Oh my god, please stop. And then finally we've got Rainbow Energy, which looks much more extravagant than any other Rainbow Energy, but you know how it works. It provides a colorless, but it provides any kind of energy at one time, but when you put it on, you get 1 damage counter.
Yep. All right, let's take a look at the full arts. We've already seen what the attacks do. We're just going to take a look at the art here. I like Lurantis. It's very, very contrasting. The red and the greens look very nice on this card. I think it's a pretty well-designed one.
Absolutely.
And Lunala, I really like Lunala-GX's full art. I love the pose. It looks very majestic and powerful.
Yeah, one thing that I want to say about it is they could have used a different color for the background, but overall, they really took advantage of how big its wingspan is and covered a lot of the card.
Mm-hmm.
Moving onwards.
Next, here we have Umbreon. Umbreon, not quite as cool as Espeon, but I still don't think it's a bad design.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. They put a lot of work into the Evolution full arts.
They did. I think it looks really nice. Tauros-GX looks fantastic. I love this look of this design here.
Yeah,
it really stands out well.
The contrast of the two different browns and the silvery background, it's good. It's a good full art.
It really is. And then we have our trainer full arts here. We've got our full art Team Skull Grunt.
Such a good looking card.
It is.
If you actually take a look at the textures kind of resemble like a paint splatter. And then you've got the paint splatter in the background. It's very colorful. Again, even though this is a kid's game on the female Team Skull Grunt, they had to make it a little bit more appealing to, I guess, the older audience, because they put a lot of detail into that. But regardless, it's a very dynamic card. If you take a look at his hand, they really show dimensions off in it. It's a good design, very well designed card.
It is very good looking.
I love it. I really want to pull this as well. Not as much as this one, though.
This is the only secret rare I pulled in Japanese, and I'm so happy about it, was the full art Lily. So
yeah, this sucker is going for about $100.
I just sold mine on eBay for $81.
Yeah, so like obviously you did it competitive, but a lot of people have sold them for like around 90 to 100. And like it's good, but like right now it's not even like super good in the format. Like, you know, 2 extra cards if you use it on your first turn. Yeah, that's definitely a solid thing, but like we still have N in format, so this isn't gonna like this will be a good replacement when N's rotated out. But I mean, I just think it's only that expensive because people love Lily so much. So
it's all because of the character and the artwork.
Yeah, I'm hoping that doesn't carry over in English. I'm sorry, Lily, but I don't want to pay $100 for you if I don't pull you.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I want to mention too is that this artist made Lily like super skinny. Like I know she is skinny anyhow, but her arms kind of look twiggish.
And the elbow's a bit too big.
Yeah, I mean, like they made her pretty thin for this card, to be honest. So moving on into the hyper rares, we've got the Lurantis, which brilliant background design. You've got this like floral pattern. It's so nice looking. I wouldn't say it's one of my top favorites, just because if I only had to pick 3, I would choose Espeon, and then obviously the Tauros and Lunala. But this is definitely maybe 4 or 5. It's a very well designed hyper rare, and honestly, I can't wait to see these in person. You can see the videos, of course, but there's nothing like actually seeing how they look for yourself.
I agree.
Moving onwards, we've got Lunala-GX. Crazy. Just absolutely crazy.
So good.
And what I was obviously talking about, this is a scan so you can see it more. The part of the wing right here is red, but then the background has mostly just like blues and greens. So the Pokemon itself has a separate color scheme from the background. And it's just very good looking. And you've got the crazy, you know, circular, but kind of like rigid, wavy kind of background. So it's a good looking card. We've got the Umbreon-GX. It's still pretty good, but not as good as Espeon. Even the hyper rare for Espeon is the best. Let's just get that out of the way. But this is still pretty solid, in my opinion. And then we have Tauros-GX. The reason this one is so good is because you can cleanly see all the colors of the rainbow across him, and then you've got the striped background. So it just works out very well. Looks great. So, well, then I guess I'll let you get these last few guys.
No, it's still you. I went through the last ones.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, we've got Nestball full art. I don't think this will be too expensive because even though it's a good card, it's not Ultra Ball good. So, then we've got Switch. My God, this will be a little pricey. I mean, granted, the secret rare Switch from Primal Clash was like, what, $20? But, yeah, and Switch isn't like a 4 of in a deck. You'll run 1 or 2. But this will still probably be like, I'd say around the $30 range.
It's hard to say because even then, Switch actually is not being played very much at all.
Oh, is it not being played as much?
It's not.
Yeah, so okay, maybe it will be 15 or 20 then. I think that's probably a fair thing to say. And then finally, we have our Psychic Energy. Very beautiful, and it's nice that we're actually going to get these, but I will say that I am somewhat disappointed that we never got the gold-bordered Grass and Darkness Energy from that were like promos in Japan, but we'll get them eventually, just not those exact ones.
Yeah, they were much nicer looking.
So let's just run through these real quick. We actually we only have to cover the starters, I think. I think all the rest are reprints.
Yep. So we got Rowlet here. We got Dartrix and
Decidueye-GX.
Now, this is actually the card I was really thinking about. Now that I think about it, now that I see it in front of me in person, now I remember. This is the card that you would want to use Shiinotic's ability with, because you don't even have to attack. All you got to do is just use Feather Arrow. You can use this power once to your turn. Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon, place 2 damage counters on it. Use this with De-Evolution Spray. You can use it, get your 4/4/4 line of Decidueye, and just De-Evolution Spray and place the damage counters. Just keep doing it over and over again. It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, Decidueye-GX is actually a very solid card, and I'm so sad that because they decided to print them in their own little deck thing, they didn't get full arts or hyper rares.
No, it didn't. But that's its ability. It's got an attack, grass in 2 colors, Razor Leaf does 90 damage, and then Hollow Hunt GX, put 3 cards from your discard pile into your hand. It's okay. Again, it's not the wow factor.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in the future that will be a little bit better.
Perhaps.
But, I mean, remember, it is any 3 cards, and it's for only 1. So it really just depends on how you build your deck, but definitely a solid card, I think.
All right, I'll let you cover the next line.
Okay, so we're going to go down to Litten, and then we've got ourselves a Torracat, and then Incineroar-GX, probably still one of my most favorite regular GX designs. So we've got Hustle Blow for 1 fire, and it's 10 damage, and it does 20 more for each fire Pokemon on your bench. So that's actually not that bad either. If you could get a Skyfield out, and then get 8 fire Pokemon on it, like I said, that does 20 more for each of those, so that's 170 for 1. Obviously that's very situational, but that's just the possibilities. We've got Tiger Swing for 2 fire and a colorless, 80 plus damage. You flip 2 coins and it does 50 more for each heads. Not good. But then Burn Slam GX for 2 fire and a colorless, 200 damage, and the active Pokemon is now Burn. That's pretty decent, because if they even have a little bit of damage on it, say you do this with a Kukui, you can basically get a GX knockout with that.
Yep, you can. But I must just say, I'm such a bigger fan of Torracat's design over Incineroar. Torracat is so much better looking. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think Torracat would have been cool if they did, if they made it on all 4s instead of bipedal. But I love Incineroar. But I get that reasoning. Like, a lot of people actually say that.
Yeah, I don't know. I was very reluctant to evolve my Torracat into Incineroar. I just have to say. All right, so next up here we've got Poplio, and then we've got our Brionne, which I think is actually kind of a neat artwork on that one.
Yeah, it's kind of got a crayon look.
Yeah, it's very unique. And then we have our Primarina GX. Bubble Beat does 10 damage, plus 20 damage times the amount of water energy attached to all of your Pokemon in play, so that's pretty good for a double colorless energy. 3 water colors, Ocean Sound, 120 damage, discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. And then its GX attack is Grand Echo GX, which I think is completely garbage. For a double colorless, heal all damage from each of your Pokemon. I don't see that ever being used.
Yeah, not really. But Bubble Beat, I think, is definitely a solid attack.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that maybe being played in the future. Grand Echo, actually, I don't think it's that bad. Just in the case that you can pile up a lot of damage on, let's say you use a Whale Lord for stall and whatever. You use multiple Whale Lord EXs for stall, do Bubble Beat and whatever. And then you can eventually just Grand Echo all of the damage off all of your Whale Lord EXs. Very situational, but still. I don't think it's as bad as some of the other GX attacks. It's not 100% amazing, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be worse, but Just kind of scrolling through here to see if there's anything else that we missed.
Yeah, I think the only other thing is we've got a potion.
Potion.
A potion energy switch. We don't really need to click on those.
No.
Great.
And then we have Great Ball.
Then here's the Ultra Ball design, which is actually really solid. They did not put. That's one thing that I keep forgetting, that they did not have Ultra Ball in the set except for the secret rare.
Yeah, they didn't. You're right.
We've got our rare candy, Pokemon Catcher.
Pokemon Catcher's back again.
Regular Pokeball, gross. Scrolling through. Oh, we got Howl, which Howl is actually going to get full art in the future.
Yep, I saw that. It's just the same thing you would expect. It's Charon and Tierno and Howl, all the same card.
Yeah, so that's him. You draw 3 cards. So, but I am looking to see what he gets.
We get Fire Energy too.
Yeah, well, I mean, these Fire Energies, obviously, like in the Elite Trainer boxes, this is how we get these.
Yep, exactly.
And then these are just promos. These aren't going to be in the set. These are just promos. So we don't have to go.
We actually have one of these already. I think we have the Pikachu, don't we?
Yes, maybe.
No, it's actually no. It looks different. Never mind. That's my mistake. The Sun and Moon 4 Pikachu promo is not the same as that. I thought it was. So no. Yeah, these are cards we'll see eventually. We already have our flying Pikachu here. That's not even whatever. Yeah. So the rest of them we'll get later on.
Yeah, so that appears to be everything. I think we are missing like a few cards because they weren't included on this page. It was like the basic Pokemon that are going to be in the theme decks that are also in there. But I mean, we've shown those off before, so yep. we're fine. So that is everything, everyone. My lord, how far are we into this?
About an hour and 36 minutes as of right now.
It's
not our worst. It's not our worst. This is a gigantic set.
Yeah, this is a huge set. I mean, this is one of the biggest sets, because when they first said like 60 in each set, I was like, okay, that's not so bad. But they forgot to mention that the, there would be hyper rares and whatever, and like 3. And now here's the one thing that I'm wondering too. When the official English list set came out, they didn't include the hyper rares on there. They had the full art. So are hyper rares going to be like their own subset thing? Or are they going to be secret rare?
Gosh, I hope they're not. If they're secret or rarity, then just forget it. We're done.
Yeah, that would be, 8 and then 6, so that would be 14 secret rares.
Get out of here with that.
Yeah, so anyways, before me and Chris decide to cut off our own heads because we'll never be able to afford that, we're just going to end it here. So I'm just throwing up a few cards real quick.
That works. So I want to thank you guys if you stuck through this entire thing, an hour and 37 minutes or so. Definitely commend you for hanging in there through this. We hope you enjoyed this set review, giving you a better idea maybe of what to look for in the set if you have not already seen Japanese openings in their entirety, such as Wake Run Collapse or something like that, because that is the place to go for watching a complete set be pulled card by card for sure.
Yeah, for the most part. Because it was not that kind to him. That's why I'm kind of worried for the English sets, just because he still had a decent amount of cards to get afterwards. So
that's what I heard.
Yeah.
So again, before we go down too much of a tangent again, we want to thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on our channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as usual. And of course, go check out Collector Andrew for mostly Pokemon news content these days. He's one of the first ones to break it most of the time. So definitely go and check him out for that.
Yeah, and to my subscribers as well as everyone else's, I am going to do a quick apology. I've had a lot of personal life stuff going on, so I haven't been able to upload as much, but videos and uploads will be regularly returning. We're going to be still doing the news videos. We're now doing the set review, even though it's 3 weeks later, and we're going to be seeing a lot more, top whatever discussion videos for like the Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that. And so Yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, if you haven't heard of the Pokemon Evolutionaries, you probably haven't. They're a bunch of nobodies.
Yeah, we have like 8 subscribers.
Yeah, so go subscribe to them, help them out. They desperately need it. And yeah, I think we can wrap it off there.
All right, guys. Well, we want to thank you very much for watching. We hope to see you guys in the next video. So until next time, guys, I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries.
You broke up a little bit there on my end, but I get the gist of it because we've done these a lot. And I'm Collector Andrew. And have a great day, everyone.
Yep. Everybody take care. We'll see you next time.